We are live.
Okay. I'm stretching on national TV. Interesting. So we are live. We are live. Please, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Live. We are live. Please, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Live. We are live. Sorry about that. Okay.
Can just to check in, can you see the comment already?
Um. Yes, I can see Abba Emmanuel. Hi, Abba. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Thank you so much for making time to join this. We are going to start in a few minutes. We just want to be sure that the Instagram community is aware that we are live, and then we can get started. I hope we all had a wonderful day. You can in the comment section, you can just say introduce yourself and tell us where you're joining from, so that we can get to know you. Hi, Ma. Hi, Ori, and I hope I pronounced that right concept. Hi, Shegon.
Hi, everyone. I can see them. I can see everyone. This is exciting. I think we're going to have like a lot of fun. Um, Peace, do you think we should start now or should we still wait for like a couple of persons? Um,
I think we should start now since people already joined in early and might as well start. Anyone else that joins in, they can just take it back or forward.
oh, is it possible to do that?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Ah, nice. Hi, Demola. Hi, Demola Dre. Hi, Bamidele Shegun. I've always wondered how this name is pronounced. Or Orient. Is it Orient or Ore? Like the Yoruba in me is saying Ore. Ore and how do I pronounce? Please, you know how to pronounce that name.
No, I do not. And I wish the person behind could speak, but
Yeah,
they can't.
yeah. Okay. Ima Abba. Okay. So we're gonna start in just a few minutes and I'm just gonna change my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I
Okay, awesome, awesome, beautiful. So we're gonna start now, and I think I'll start by saying that um, I've been wanting to, do this for a very long time, but my schedule has just been really, really crazy. But I'm happy that I'm able to do this now. So I'll just say that the purpose of us doing this is to see how we can take our portfolio, our designs from where they are to where they're supposed to be. How can we improve, on how can we improve on the designs that we create? How can we ensure that, sometimes it's like there's this thing of when they say that when you are in a place and there's a smell, and you get used to the smell, you're not able to smell it anymore. And then someone comes into that particular space and they're like, oh, I can actually smell this. Sometimes we get so used to our work that we are not even able to see past it. We believe that, oh, this work is the best, or this work is really good. But sometimes we just need like the perspective of other people to help us see things we are blinded, that we're not able to see, basically. So that's what we're going to be doing here, how we're going to do this. So one of the things I also realized is I told my team to find me. So a lot of persons actually have submitted their portfolios, but I told my team to pick out portfolios, and they picked some of the best portfolios. And that wasn't the goal. The goal was for them to pick out, portfolios of, intermediate designers, junior designers, everyone together, so that we can have this conversation and we can favor people of different levels, right? But they picked out some very strong portfolios, and we had already posted the names before I could, have that conversation with them. This is to show that I'm not the one who picks, my team does everything. And I was like, you know what, let's just do this. In the next session we're going to have the portfolio of junior designers, mid-level designers, even senior designers, whichever. We're just going to have a mix of everything, so that you wouldn't see portfolios here and you start feeling like, hey, God, when am I going to start my design journey? You wouldn't start feeling intimidated, you get. One thing about design is we are all learning. And I don't think we would ever get to that point where we would feel like, oh, we've arrived. Sometimes you feel that way, it's at different levels. But if you are really growing, you would realize that you'd constantly crave for more. You want to do much more. So we're gonna start with Daniel. Oreoluwa. So Daniel, your name is Oreoluwa. So I think your brand name is Oriens. I don't know how to pronounce that. But I know that when I see that name, the first thing that comes to my mind is Ore. So we're going to start with Oreoluwa's portfolio. And we just go, we have about 5 portfolios here. I think we have about 1 hour. Peace, when is the session ending? So that I can get my time.
At 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Nigerian time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so 8 p.m. Nigerian time, 7 p.m. my time. Okay, good. So let's get started. So looking at this portfolio, sorry. Looking at this portfolio, the first thing that got my attention is this particular portfolio in the middle. So there are a couple of things I want to talk about now, right? We're not just talking about the kind of designs that you have in your portfolio, but also the layout of your portfolio, the experience, what comes to my mind when I see your portfolio, because it's a combination of both. You can have a good portfolio, but you've not used a good platform, and that can affect how people perceive your portfolio. You can have a good portfolio, but you've not used the right cover, portfolio cover. I would explain what that means. And so these are like different things I would like to talk about. So I have them in different aspects, right? Key aspects. We have the first thing is the first impression, and then we have consistency, and then we have clarity and context. So how well am I able to understand what you're trying, what your design is about? How consistent is your design, and what is my first impression? So the first impression is I look at this person's work and I'm like, this person has like good work, good designs. But the only project here that is getting my attention is the one in the middle, this one. So I would naturally just go to that project first. And so I was scrolling through the project and I'm like, this is really interesting. First of all, let's also talk about the layout of the design. I like how you've introduced your project. I like that you you're giving us the black and white first, right? This grayish black and white version of it. And you more like you're just trying to, you don't want to give us too much at first. You want to ease us into the experience, because every portfolio, every design case study is an experience. That's how I've always seen it, and that's how I design. I always tell myself that every portfolio that I design, or every case study I work on, is an experience. I want people to experience. I want to have that flow where they can enjoy the process of just looking at it. And so I'm looking at what you've done here, and this catches my attention. I like how you've explained, everything about the brand. I'm not even reading it. I'm just looking at, the symbol. And then now you're showing me this. You have this 3D thing happening. Let me also pinpoint that when you're designing your portfolio and you're going to be embedding, a lot of things in the portfolio. Maybe you're going to be adding videos, you're going to be adding a couple of things. It is good that you don't put the video as the first thing so that it doesn't take time to, so that while the video is loading, we are focused on something else. So I'm looking at your portfolio, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing, while your video, the other things you've attached to your entire portfolio, they're just loading. So it's just like a smart way to do things where you add videos at maybe the second slide or the third slide or the last slide, basically. And so I'm looking at the video now, it's really good. I love it, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. And then I'm seeing this slide. And then this is the first, part of the brand where I'm able to see this is it's called a bento. And I know a lot of you know this. So when you bring things together like this, it's called a bento. So I like this bento. This is where you're showing me like an overview of the entire brand. You're showing me the colors, you're showing me the typography, you're showing me the mock-ups, you're showing me the imagery, everything together in one place. And this gives me a feel of what your brand or what this brand is about. And there's one thing you've done that I'm really happy about is when I look at this, right? Let me tell you something about designing that I've realized is you can never really deceive your brain. Like once your brain tells you something, something is off. When you look at a particular bento or you look at a particular there's a word I was looking for, but let me just get that off my mind. So when you look at a particular bento and something is off, your brain tells you. And that's why when you're designing, as soon as you're done designing, you want to go off, go away from your work and come back. You pick it again. You get? So you never shut that feeling off. Once you're able to pick it a couple of times, change it. So when I saw this, the first thing I noticed was I love the synergy. There's a lot going on here. But then they're all different, but they speak one visual language. Just look at the colors. Look at the way you've used the mock-ups. The mock-ups have they have like a lot of green, right? And and then look at the I don't know, a sweater as well. It's also green. It's beautiful. Look at the mock-up. This doesn't mean that all your mock-ups in your projects have to have like green everywhere or the colors have to be the same. No. But even if it's something, there has to be something that just brings everything together. It's like you're making soup. Everything is separate, the fish. But then when you're done cooking it, it has to feel like you're eating one particular meal. You don't want to feel like you're eating different things, right? And so if you look at what you've done here, I like that the strap of a bag gives me a feel of this yellow, which creates some sort of balance in the entire layout. So all those very simple things are things that our brain would actually pick. And then you're like, this is visually appealing, because of all these very subtle things. It might not even be deliberate, but it's actually deliberate. There's nothing you do in design that isn't deliberate because sometimes you make decisions based on your experiences, based on all the things that you've seen, all the case studies you've seen over time. And then you start to implement those things and you start to see them come to life. So I like what you've done here. I like the mock-up. I like how everything is coming together. So I like the next screen. I like this particular mock-up a lot, how you've used it here. I'd say that the logo mark isn't really visible on this, but if it is an existing brand, they could get away with this. But if it's a new brand, you probably want to make it more visible so people can actually see the brand they're advertising. But if it's an existing brand that's been in existence for a long time, that they have mouths, it doesn't really matter. They can pull this off. So I like what you've done here. There's so much I want to say. I'm just trying to keep it cool because I love design a lot, and I'm totally enjoying this process, right? And so I like what you've done here as well with this mock-up as well. I like what you've done here. It feels like it's a part of the project. Some people would use mock-ups and it would just feel like it is disjointed from the entire project, and that's not what you want. You want to ensure that there's a flow basically. And so let's look at the colors. I like how you've introduced the colors. I like how clean this feels. I like this as well. For me, I'm going with the flow, and my brain is like, yeah, this is good. This is really good. And so I'm going with that flow. The colors work. The colors work a lot. The way you've used gray. There's something I call breakers, page breaker, or I call but let me just call it breakers in case study design. Now, when you're designing a case study, one of the things I've realized is for you to have a very beautiful case study, you want to ensure that the process is not overwhelming for viewers. So you want to break out the activity, the entire visuals on the page. So when you have a lot of things happening on one particular slide, you want the next slide to be as maybe not too plain, but as spaced, properly spaced as possible. You want to use a lot of white space, right? And you want it to be, you want your design or your portfolio to actually breathe. Like you want it to be very, easy to go through, where everything is just all over the place. So I like that you've broken this two from this screen to this screen. I like that you have a breaker, and then you've put this particular slide there. I like that this one feels like a continuation of this, because the color, the filter, everything just works. It's like a perfect flow. You can see it. Normally, I would say, oh, don't put two, you know, images together that have like a lot of things going on, but this works because it looks like it is one image, and it means that you've picked out the right mockups. Actually, it doesn't feel like a mockup; it just works, and it feels like it is a part of your project, right? It has this filter, it has this particular feel about it. This as well. I like what you've done here as well. So I'm looking at all the pages and I'm liking them. But I think for me, I'd say that the slide that was like the weak slide for me would be this one, because I'm looking at all the mock-ups you've used. I'm looking at how you've presented the designs, and this one wasn't gelling. And not because this is not a good mock-up, but because as designers we get bored easily. I've seen this mock-up like a couple of times, and what you want to do is, as much as possible, you want to use mock-ups that people have not seen, so that they can have like a fresh, perspective. They can have like they can see your design in a new light. You don't want them to say, "Oh, I've seen this somewhere." And it is not wrong to use mockups that already exist, but as much as you can, you want to try to, use other mockups. So I feel like this is, if it was a fashion brand, this mannequin, this might have worked. But for this, looking at everything you've been working on, looking at the entire flow, for me, this particular slide was like the part that didn't feel like it was a part of the entire project. But if you go past this one and you move to the next slide, it's beautiful. It works. I like this particular mockup. This I'd also advise that when you're using mockups, you also don't want to use mockups back to back, so that it doesn't feel like, so that people can experience the soul of your branding rather than just the. I might need to open the window a bit because I think that is becoming quite hot in here. Okay, it's becoming quite hot in here. So yeah, can you guys still see me? Can you guys still hear me? Just put like I don't know, like an emoji or something if you can hear me. I don't want to feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And so you don't want to have what you could have done is bring in an image, like a picture or something, and just put it there. Designers do this a lot, and so maybe a picture before these two mockups, so it doesn't feel like there's mockup everywhere, because you've used good mockups, but you want to ensure that there's a breaker. The breakers are like that's what makes your case study, really. So apart from that, and there's another mockup again. So you want to use breakers. Breakers are like images. Let's look at a brand that has used breakers well. Let's look at Collins, for instance. Now you have the video coming first, which I usually don't advise, because I mean, if you have a video coming first, it means that the video has to be very light. It has to load really fast. So maybe they are very confident in how they've embedded the video, so that works. So you have this. So this is an image that is very colored, and then you have the next images that it has like a lot of white space. It's like a principle that a lot of people use every time. And I was going to show you something. So you have like a mock-up here. You have a mock-up here as well. There's something I was going to show you. I don't think it's this project. I think it should be. There's a project I was going to show, but anyway, let me just go back to. I was trying to buttress a point, but let me just go. So you want to use like images in between, this difference, just to ensure that it brings that human side of the brand. So now that we're done with that project, I think I'm spending too much time on this portfolio, but this is what got my attention. And so I'm looking at the other project and I'm like, which one do I check first? This one or this one, they look quite similar. And that's why your project covers are very important, especially for Behance. Sometimes you have a very good project, but your cover isn't doing justice to the amount of work you've done in your project, right? And so let's look at this one. I'll just go past it, like go scroll through. Also an interesting project. For me, it's not as strong as the other project, but then there is consistency in your work. There's a style of your design. But there's something I noticed about this particular project. So if you scroll through, Okay, not this project. I think it was this project. If you scroll through, I like what you've done with this 3D thing. If you scroll through, you can see the progression, you can see the flow. Everything here is having this, there's there's like a game. I don't know if it's a gaming chair, but it gives me that vibe. I think yeah, it's a gaming chair. It gives me that vibe, and I'm enjoying the flow. But when I get to this point, you can see the flow. When I get to this point, it feels like a totally different brand. You get not that all your mockups and images have to look the same way, but there has to be a way to introduce different slides together so that the story doesn't feel disjointed. Because look at the flow. This is like really sci-fi, techie, everything, Game Boy, that kind of thing, and then we move into like a different section. So this is a good section, but there has to be a way to tie it into the entire branding so that it doesn't feel like it is disjointed from the others. And then you have all this and you have all this. So that's like the only thing. Talking about the identity itself, everything that you've done, I think is brilliant. I like it. I think one of my favorite slides here should be this one. Yes, this one. I like what you did here. It's just really interesting. It's just professionally done. I like it a lot. Okay, so I'm just gonna move. So that's my impression of your portfolio. You have an amazing portfolio. I want you to work on the covers because you have great projects, but the covers are not doing justice, except this one. When I looked through this project, I realized that some of them were really nice cover. They're really nice. What's it called again? Designs. It's not loading. Some of them are really nice, like this one's the way you've designed them. But if you look at the cover, it's just a lot of things going on. I'm not able to appreciate the amount of work you've put into the entire project. So work on the covers. There has to be a way to represent these different projects in a way that people want to click on it. So I wish I could spend more time here, but let me go to the next portfolio. I really hope everyone is enjoying this session. So we're going to come to Abba's portfolio. Like I said before, my team picked out some of the very good portfolios. And if you're a new designer watching, don't be intimidated. These people are people they've gone through their own process as well. No one gets here in a day. It's a process. You just keep going and keep pushing yourself. You don't want to see my first set of designs. They were terrible. When I look at them, they give me a headache. I don't like them. So everyone is going through that process. So you have nothing to worry about. You're welcome, Ore. So this is Abba's portfolio, and I'm looking at this portfolio, and I'm like, okay. Um, um, I like what you've done with your portfolio, Abba, because it's a motion design portfolio, and I like that you've used. I don't know what platform you designed this on, but it loads really fast, and I really like that. Like when you play it, let me just mute it. When you play it, I like that it's just really good. It loads really fast. It's clean. I don't know what the resolution was like, but excuse me, it's really good. Because if you have a good portfolio but you have a bad platform, it becomes a problem. So I like what you've done here. You're showing us a process. It's really good. Because I'm not necessarily like a motion designer, I would not be able to say or give you like actual feedback on the motion design. But I would say that from what I'm seeing, if I stumble on your portfolio, I definitely want to work with you because you've done it well. I like it. I like that. It's kind of like you're taking me through a process, and I'm able to appreciate all the work that you've done, the sketches, the thoughts behind it. There are a lot of designers who are good, but they don't like to write. Like me, I don't like writing. But sometimes you have to write about your work. You have to write about your thought process. You have to write about the thinking behind the work so people can actually appreciate your process even more. And so I like what you've done here. Let me work as fast as possible. I looked at the next project as well. I like it. And I would also like to say that you have a lot of range. You work on like different motion projects. And yes, I remember you understand systems a lot. You understand systems a lot. I like that. I'm a brand designer and I'm a very visual person. And I like the fact that, so even though I'm not a motion designer, I'm able to appreciate the fact that you've maintained there's consistency in your use of design systems. The way you've designed, there's sometimes that you work with motion designers and they would, create the motion design and sometimes everything just feels very disjointed. But this doesn't feel that way. The way you've designed Caspar, different aspects of it. So I'm not going to speak on the motion itself, but I'll speak on what I'm seeing. I love it. I love the consistency in the system that you built. It's brilliant. I think it's just really good. And so I like that about your project. So let's move to this. And this was where I knew that yes, you are very good with systems, where I saw that every project had like a distinct look, which is very important. If you look at what you have here, I've forgotten what um, the way you've used even the way the motion is working around different types of projects. I like what you've done with it. The colors, the consistency with the colors. You're not changing the color code. You're not just deciding to do your own thing. You're using their own reusable elements and you're telling a story. And I'm buying that story. I think it's brilliant. So I'll say your portfolio is well designed. Um, I'm not going to talk too much on the motion itself. I think the motion is brilliant. I think you do very good 3D, by the way. I saw this and it was quite impressive. I like the twist. But there's something I noticed, right? On web, when you're viewing your portfolio on, I don't know, like on your computer, my computer now, I'm able to see it well. But I noticed that on mobile, um, unless you click on it, you probably will think they're images unless you click on it and it goes. Now this works for we designers because we know that some portfolios don't have anything written on it unless you over on it. But there's one day I remember I sent my portfolio to my sister, and she's not a designer, and she said to me, "Olani, I'm seeing covers in your portfolio. What am I supposed to do?" And that's when I realized that as designers, as brand designers, we have to also understand usability. We have to understand functionality. How do we ensure that people come in contact with our work, but they're really able to appreciate it? So what I started doing was for mobile view, I would explain or put like a small text, about each project so that they know that maybe they're supposed to click on it. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I want to ensure that when people come to your portfolio, they know that they are supposed to click. That's the only thing. The project itself, I think, is brilliant. I saw some older, I think these are like some of your old works. They're not as impressive as the more recent ones. I understand that these are like old designs. So I'm not going to really speak on the motion, but as a whole, I think that as a project, as a portfolio, I think you have an amazing portfolio. Well done. Um, Let me talk about this. So I was going to show you that mockup I was talking about. You can see the mockup again is used here. So you want to ensure that you use mockups that are not very common, so that people. I use common mockups as well. Sometimes you just can't find the mockup you want. You have to use the common ones. But if you search very well, sometimes you might get the ones that are not too common. So we're going to Demola Gray now. Demola Dre, not Demola Gray. Demola Dre. Okay, someone is asking, what do I mean by systems? How do I explain systems? So you know how you have, okay, for instance, let's look at Uber, for instance. Sometimes you see Uber's ads and you see how they're able to use the system that's been built around the brand. How do I explain this? Let me see. I'm trying to explain this visually. Is there a project I can use to explain? So you know how people use like reusable elements. How if you look at Uber, for instance, how they are able to. Let me look for Uber. I wouldn't want to do this on live because I. Okay, I'll just explain it, and maybe later we'll talk about it. But basically, you have a system that's been built already for a brand, and you are able to just reuse it. You're able to ensure that the shapes. You're able to create, new things out of what already exists, and everything still looks like the main brand. So you're using the system that has been built. I'm sorry I talk very fast. You're using what has been built already to create something new, but then it still ties back to the original branding. So that's why you say, "Oh, I like the system of this brand. I like the design system." They're just reusable elements, ensuring that you are able to design in a way that it is unique, but it is still recognizable as part of a brand. So it could be use of shapes, it could be use of tags, it could be use of different things. So that's what I mean by systems. And it can be explained better, but that's how I don't want to go too deep into it. But let me look at this portfolio. And if you look at what is done here, I like I'm seeing your portfolio, and if you look according to like if you think about visual hierarchy in design, the first thing I'm seeing is this cover. I'm not even seeing the portfolio yet. So I'm seeing this cover, I'm seeing everything. It's because that's the first thing my brain my brain gets when I look at this portfolio. And that's the power of design. Visual hierarchy. You can decide what you want people to see first just by how you present your portfolio. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at your portfolio. Your covers are on point. I know you got it right with your covers, and it's very important. Like, I like how you've picked out some of the best parts of your project and you've made them into covers, and like, you just help us appreciate the work. So looking at this, I don't even know which to pick first, but let's even decide. I think I'll pick this because I really like that cover. I like this project. I like what you've done with the symbol, um, the word mark. It just looks very good. I like the background color. Yeah, it looks very good. The imagery works. Good, good, good. I'll say that when you are presenting your work like this, you've used a mock-up here. A box mock-up is nice. A box mock-up is nice. This, nice. I'll say that don't use too much mock-ups at the same time. Like, don't use too many mock-ups together at once. You want to create breakers so that people can appreciate you. People are experiencing this. They're experiencing your brand. You don't want them to just scroll past. So put in breakers, things that can help people enjoy the branding, even if it's motion, even if it's I don't want you to have a portfolio that has too many mock-ups and people cannot really connect of to the soul of that branding. Mock-ups are amazing, but don't let them overwhelm your work. Um, and so this is this about this. I think it's good work. Um, so let's look at another project. I like this cover a lot. It's just very attractive. Ooh, I like this. I like what you've done with this. I like what you've done with this. I like what you've done with this. Structural. Okay. I like what you've done with this. Okay. I know this mock-up. Okay. And then we have the mock-up and we have the mock-up and we have the mock-up and we have so the thing is, you have a style, you have a system, or let me not use the word system. You have a style of designing or presenting your work, and you do good work. But I want you to create some case studies without mock-ups and see how far you're able to go, because you want to ensure that when people see your work, they're able to really appreciate what you've done. So, because sometimes mock-ups actually have a way of taking the I don't want to use the word humanity, the human side of the branding. You don't want it to look too I don't know, too mock-uppy. That's the word. So you have like really good mock-ups, but you don't want it to look like you're just showing off mock-ups. Bring in the human side of things. Where are the images? What are the other aspects of the branding? The typography, the symbol, all these different things. So that's what I think you should have done to that project. So I'll just look at this project. Um, God, this is so beautiful. I like what you've done here. I like the colors. I like how they work. You know, it's just so beautiful, and I like the background. I like how you picked your colors. This is really impressive. Um, this is like the third time I'm seeing this particular mock-up. So you see why you want to stop using this mock-up. Not because it's a bad mock-up, but because you want to ensure that your design is maintains a level of uniqueness. Um, so I like what you've done here. I like this bento as well. I like what you've done with this, bringing all these things together. But when I look at this, that human side of the brand, it lacks it. I can't even see it because I have a lot of mock-ups going on. It would have been perfect if you had this particular image. You had the image of someone just enjoying in the lounge or in a very nice space. You know, let people experience the brand, especially because you've done such a good job, with the branding. The colors are beautiful. So it's so soothing. Like I almost want to come to this space the way the pictures. I almost want to get. I like the orange. It works. One of the best ways to get colors for your project is by picking out colors from maybe even the images. Because when I look at this image, I can almost tell that this particular color, this flame, was, if you check very well, this tiny part, you could get this flame from this tiny part. You could get this brown from this part. Every part of so your this particular project has a lot of synergy. It works. It tells one story. It's like milk. I don't know how to describe. So I love the flow. I'm enjoying the flow, right? So it's different from the first project I showed you where there's some disconnect. Yeah, you've used it properly. I don't know if this part was necessary, because there's a simplicity about the project, and at this point, this might be taking away that simplicity. But I mean, I like what you've done here. I like this particular collage. I like that this place is has a logo. I like what you've done with this part. I like what you've done with this part. It's beautiful. Yeah. So if you are putting this particular text here, do you want to put it on this side because this was centralized and this is this text this heading is centralized as well. It might just form a very nice you know yeah, it might just form a very nice might create a very nice alignment. But what I have here, it looks like it's a mistake. So maybe you want to shift this band pattern to this place or just centralize everything. So I like what you've done here. You use a lot of mock-ups, by the way. I can see the mock-ups, but then it starts to get very overwhelming at a point. So you can keep your mock-ups. Ah, this is so pretty. This is so good. So you can keep the mock-ups, but figure out a way to create breakers where people get to appreciate the brand. Let me give you an instance. This is a project I worked on, and because I know that after this you have illustrations, I put images. So breakers can be images, they can be just things to make for you to enjoy the entire flow. So you have all those different types of things and stuff like that. So this is another breaker that I used, so that you're able to just experience the branding, so it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on at the same time. This is another breaker. That's personally how I do it. You can look for other ways to create breakers in your case study. So yes, so that's what I'll say about this particular project. This is really pretty, by the way. It's such a beautiful project. Well done. Let's look at this project. This is so good. So there's someone was asking about systems the other time. Let me explain how he has used systems here. You know how you look at this brand and you can see the lines, the use of lines everywhere. So if you look at what he's done here, it's created another layout, but then you can still see the lines. So they're just reusable elements in a way that you're able to create uniqueness out of different things, but they still tie back to the original brand. And so I like how he's used the lines. I don't know if he used the lines anywhere else, but that consistency is what makes a good system. I can see the mock-ups again and again and again and again. And so it's just the same feedback as the rest. If you're going to keep the mock-ups, create breakers. Let us enjoy the brand itself. Let's enjoy the brand. Let's see other aspects of the brand. I like how you've used the lines here. You've maintained the same system. This is very good use of system, by the way. You maintain the same system. It has a unique system to it, and the lines, and it's just really good. You can see how he's used the system here as well again. So that even when the brand is creating other things in the future, they're able to use that same system to create like many other things, and you still recognize the brand. I didn't look at this because this particular cover didn't get my attention, but let's look at the project. For this one, I like this animation. It's nice. I like that movement. It really works. I like this. It works. It works. It works. It works. This is animated, and you were able to upload this into Behance. That's impressive because of the size. Excuse me. Yeah, the mock. I think the feedback is just the same. You create good work, but you need to think about your mock-ups and how you use them. Mock-ups can take your project from looking very professional to looking very ordinary. You want to maintain that, that very nice. You've seen the other projects are really good, so you want to maintain that quality of work. So let's move to the last. This is such a nice. I like this word mark. It's so nice. I like this. That's the way you've used this. I like how the arrow comes out. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. Nice. Nice. Okay, so I'm just going to. I was looking through this project now. The first thing I'm seeing is a mock-up. I would have loved to see other things rather than mock-ups. But I'm sure you get the message of what I'm trying to say now. So just work on that, and I think you're good. Well done. You do good work. So this is the last project I'm going to be checking by Daniel Owolabi. And the first thing I'm looking at, I'm seeing the project, and then the fact that this part is dark, my focus is just on this part. So that's like visual hierarchy where the attention is on the project itself, which is impressive. I like that. I think this is a very strong portfolio, and I like the logo and marks. When I saw them, I was like, "Oh, this is so good." because when a logo works well in black and white, it's likely to work very well in color. When you mix in, when you bring in colors, right? As a colored logo, it looks really good. I like. This is impressive. This is Lenda. It's very good, very good, very good. I can see that you're very good with like creating symbols, logo symbols, and then getting the right typography to work with them. It's impressive. Um, Let me look at this project. I like how you introduced this project. Um, Nice. Mm, you've also used like a lot of mock-ups. I want you to not use too many mock-ups, or you can keep the mock-ups, but I want to see other aspects of the brand. Where are the human beings where are people interacting with the brand? The images. Let me show you a brand that I've seen. I don't know why I keep opening this project, maybe because I like this project, but let's look at Studio Koto for instance. Let's look at this project. You have this, you have people. I mean, sometimes you might not have images for that brand, but you can use like Shutterstock and many of these other Pexels, many of these other platforms where you can see that they bring in images and you're able to get a sense of what the brand is about and enjoy the branding. So there's a breaker here, which is the human side of the brand, and then you have this all these things happening again, and then you have a combination of the image and the pictures, imagery, typography, icons, animation, everything together. You want the brand to be full. You want it to feel, you don't want to feel like you're designing something that it looks incomplete. You want it to be full. So bringing those breakers, use mock-ups, but don't allow mock-ups overwhelm your work. So that's what I'll say here, because if you had used breakers, it would have really made this project even nicer. Let's look at this project. Um, Okay. Yeah, I like that you brought in an image, but I'll say that this image looks very stock image. They say it looks like a stock image. It's actually a stock image, right? But you can find images that do not really look like a stock image. It's hard, though, let me not lie. Especially because right now, for you to license an image for your project, it's quite expensive. But you can maybe use platforms like Pexels, or there's a particular platform that is very good for images. I've forgotten the name now, but there are places where you can actually find images that are unique that you can use and just buy them for that brand. You Not that you buy the license to use it for just that brand, but just buy them from such platforms. Because for Shutterstock, for instance, it has the same set of images over and over again, right? So you have the primary color, secondary color, and tertiary color. Okay, I like this font, by the way, Unique. Satoshi is such a beautiful font. There's a lot of mock-up going on as well, and it's the same thing. Let me tell you something that when you've worked on a project and you bring in the human side of it, you're not just what you're doing is you're helping prospective clients. You're helping them see the brand. You're helping them experience the brand. Because for designers, we may appreciate this, may say, "Oh, this is a nice mock-up." But for someone who is not a designer, you want to ensure that you get them to experience the brand. You want to bring in a lot of images. Let it be interactive. Let it be in a lot of imagery, not just mock-ups everywhere. You don't want to use too many mock-ups. That's what I'll just say for this. Um, let's look for another project. I like these colors. I like this color. Okay, so this is a nice word mark. This as well. This mock-ups again. So let's even look past the fact that you've used a lot of mock-ups. Let's talk about the project itself. I think it's brilliant. I like the way you've used the colors. But at a point, at this particular part, it looks a bit overwhelming. But I like the project. I feel like this is like one of my favorite slides, right? I feel like if you had brought in like other elements, typography, where you talk about the typography, you talk about the imagery, a bit of animation, all those different things. I feel like you might have just taken this like to the next level. But this is good. I like this bento, by the way. I like this. Just looking at this, it gives me a sense of what the project is about. Oh, I love the icons, by the way. This is so impressive. I like how you've used it here. It's really smart. It's very pretty. Okay, so that is good. Um, but I just really hope that this feedback is helping a lot of people. Is this feedback helping you guys? Am I communicating, or am I just talking to myself? Is everyone still here? Okay, thank you, Peace. So that is so this is I like this. And this as well, the patterns. I actually like this pattern. I like the fact that I like how they connect to form like a different, shape. This I like this shape and it looks like a circle and then it's hexagon at the same time. It's really good. I wish I'd not seen a mock-up first, but let's keep going with the flow. And so one of the things I'd also say is every time I'm designing sometimes I I go away from my work and I go to look at the work of other people because if you keep designing and you get to a point where your designs are looking very monotonous, it's just to feel like the same thing. It means that you've been on it for too long. So take your time, take time off. Go to Koto, Studio Koto, go to Collins, go to Pentagram, experience their own branding, and just take your mind that when you come back, you start to get more ideas. How do I infuse those ideas into my project to make it stronger. Because I've seen all the portfolios here. You guys are amazing designers. And like I'm really proud of Nigerian designers, the way design is evolving and people are becoming so good. So these are just things that we can start to put into our portfolio to make it even stronger, you know. So let's look at this one. So I think it might be the same feedback as well. Oh, I like what you've done here. I like the imagery. You have mock-ups and then you have I like this, I like this, I like this. Yeah, I like what you've done with this project. You can say I'm enjoying the project. I like you've used mock-ups, but I'm looking at other things. I'm getting a vibe. I'm feeling the vibe of the brand, right? Because of the people. You're designing for human beings, and sometimes you want to bring in, images of people, things that I can relate with, so that I'm able to enjoy the essence of the branding, right? Because it's not even about mock-up. In short, the essence of mock-up is for it not to look like mock-up. We're not using mock-up for it to look like I've gotten the best mock-up. Mock-ups are supposed to be they're supposed to tell a story of reality. They're supposed to help people see what the branding looks like in reality. That's why mock-ups were created. So if your mock-up is looking like a mock-up in your project, it might be a problem. And this happens to everybody, even me. Sometimes I overuse mock-ups. So we have to keep evolving, keep learning. How do we make our work even better? How do we ensure that the work is relatable, it is enjoyable, it doesn't look too, design-like. So please don't forget, mock-ups are meant to make your work more realistic. It's not meant to make it too computer generated, that computer generated feel. So I like what you've done here. Like probably one of like your best projects here. It's so good. So now I've seen all these things. It's not overwhelming. And so if I see a mock-up, I can take it. I'm like, yeah, this works. Because you fed me with other things already. Not just mock-ups, like from start to finish. So yes, I like what you've done there. Oh, this is impressive. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Yes, so this is a good project. I think that your entire portfolio is impressive. I think that you might just want to bring in some of those things I spoke about. Apart from that, you have a very strong portfolio. And I'll say that you're a very, when it comes to creating logo symbols, you're very good at it, which is a very strong skill. And you're also able to match, let me show you what I mean. You're able to match the right typography with the symbol. It is it's not something that's it's not easy. I promise you. When you have a symbol and you have the right typeface, it's not something that comes easy for everyone. It's very hard. So I like that you've been able to choose the right typography, typeface for different symbols. One of the things I'll talk about here is I want people who are struggling with this to learn this, that when you're choosing, one thing I learned that really works for me, because I made a lot of mistakes in the past as a designer, and I've learned from those mistakes. When you have a logo symbol and it is very busy, it has a lot of things going on. Ensure that the word mark, ensure that the typeface you're using is very simple. It doesn't have too many things going on. Because according to the principle of hierarchy, right? Visual hierarchy in design. When people look at a design, you want them to focus. What do you want them to focus on? When their brain is telling them to look at two different things at the same time, it becomes confusing. They can't really enjoy the beauty of that design. So you want to ensure that the typography isn't fighting with the symbol. They're not fighting. They're supposed to be synergy. They're supposed to tell one story. It is one branding project. It is one visual language, and it's meant to speak that language. So when you're choosing the typography, if the logo is very busy, the logo itself, the logo symbol has a lot of bish around it, just let the typography, let the typeface be simple. If the logo symbol is maybe too, if the logo symbol is not too busy, then you can play around. Like, look at what is done here. You can see this is able to bring in this typeface that has a bit of character, because the symbol itself is quite simple. But if the symbol had a lot of things going on, this would have been an overkill. I really hope that helps someone, because that helped me a lot. And I learned it by the things I suffered. I learned it by suffering. Okay, so that is all about this project. I think it's almost time. And I have to go now. I'm enjoying this way too much. I think we should do this like every month. I'm really enjoying this. But let me say something that I saw a project that I liked. I think it was this one, but not even this project, some of these other projects. I would want to say that, or to buttress the point I made the other time, that mock-ups are supposed to bring out the real. Mock-ups are meant to make your work feel more realistic. So if you look at this is, it might not be a mock-up, it might just be an image, but it tells the story of this brand. This is a mock-up, and you can see the purple, the fruits. It tells a story. Mock-ups are meant to tell stories. They're meant to make your work even better. I shouldn't look at the work and notice that there's a mock-up here, there's a mock-up here. I don't want to notice the mock-up. It should be there, but let it not get my attention. That's when you know you've done a good job. And so if you look at what they've done here, I really like what they've done, the simplicity. And these are things that I've also applied. Oh, I think there's one more person. Peace. Did have I Peace is there's one more person, right? Peace.
Yes, ma'am. It's supposed
I'm
to be
so
five.
sorry. I almost forgot. Is this thing going to go off by 7, or can I continue?
You can continue.
Thank you, Peace. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'm so sorry, Shagun. I almost forgot about you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so now we're here with Shagun's portfolio. I thought I was done. Um, Now I'm seeing his portfolio. Lovely. I love the covers. It's very interactive. You've used a lot of, I can see that your style, right? I can see a consistent style. You put like a lot of space around the design, the element itself. Like, you know, let me say something. When they say positive, they say negative space, positive space. So the space that your design occupies is actually called the positive space. The space without any design element is the negative space, and it really help when people are talking about design and you hear that, and so you don't feel like it's confusing, that kind of thing. And so I like how you've used your space well. I'm able to like just enjoy the covers. I like the covers a lot. It's not overwhelming. I'm able to focus on what the project is. And I think the one that got my attention first is not even this one. It's this one. It's this one. I like the colors. I like the colors. I like this. Uh, okay. I like this. I like this part. This very nice part of the project. Okay. I like when I see people design really well. Like it makes me happy. I don't know. I'm just always so impressed and really happy. Yeah, let me just go back. So I like what you've done with this particular page, this particular section. It looks good. Um, I think this blue might be throwing me off a bit, off balance a bit. Okay, I think this blue is part of the branding, but this purple, is it part of the branding? This purple and this red. Okay, it's good. But the use of the three colors at the same time as a type for the type might be a bit distracting, because now when I look at it, I'm seeing the red. In design, red has a way of getting your attention. So that might be a good thing, because you're trying to get my attention to really about the brand. But what about the purple? What about this? So according to visual hierarchy, you want to ensure that you guide me through your design, through your process. So now I'm looking at the about the brand, and you want to, maybe this Swift brand identity could have been in maybe gray, because it doesn't really say so. It's the brand itself. So the focus is about the brand and accessibility and user friendly and account management. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not too fast. So that is that. And then because we are designers, I mean, if non-designers see this, they'll be like, yeah, this is amazing, which is actually good. But because we are designers, right, this is like a personal talk between we designers. You want to ensure that the text is actually aligned. So this is starting on a particular line, and this is on a different line. Try to make things as aligned as possible. All those little shifts here and there, so that it won't take away, from the hard work that you've done, because this is hard work. I like the system. I like what you've done. I like how you've explained the logo concept. So let's go through Swifty. I don't know how this logo typeface will look like when it is compressed, when it becomes really small. It looks quite thin. So when you look at it from a very, when you zoom out or when you look at it from a very far distance, is it still visible? So you want to think about that for accessibility and functionality. So this, I like how you introduced the colors, it's subtle. Yeah. Like you've used red, but it works. Do you get? Like it's impressive. You've used red, but you know why it works? Because you're not just throwing red all over the place. You've used red here and you balanced it out with black. And that's why red works. Yeah. Because red is a very hard color to use. It takes a lot of attention. But I like how you balance it out with grey. This doesn't look like white, it looks like grey, which is good. So I like what you've done here, but this gets my attention a lot. I like the way you've used red there. You might want to work on, okay, I think this might have been deliberate. I like grids, like grid lines. You can break the rules, but when you're breaking the rules, ensure that they actually work. So if you look at this text here, you are Swift. Is it deliberate that you started this particular line on this line, even though you have one starting on this line? Is it deliberate that this one is starting here? Is it deliberate? So all those lines, you want to figure out a way to, because when we look at things, our brains, we're seeing grids, we're seeing lines, and all these irregularities has a way of influencing our perception. You know. So now let's experience the brand. Oh my god, I love this slide a lot. I love that you've introduced imagery. And people might say, oh, this is easy to do. I promise you it's not easy. It is hard work to pick out images that work for a brand, especially when you're picking out images from different platforms. I am still able to create, to make them look like they're for the same brand. It is such an impressive thing to do, and I really like it, what you've done here. So if I look at this imagery, I get what you're trying to do. You're saying that for this brand, the imagery style or the image style or how you want their images to look like, right, is to have like a lot of solid color background. So when they're having interviews, when they're doing whatever they are doing, they have to maintain something like this. Look at their colors, the pastel feel of the colors. I love it. The bold colors, the glasses is red and it's on red and all those things, it works. It's brilliant. And so I think from this place, the subtle nature of this particular slide, right, is giving me a flow from red, black to this slide. This purple is throwing me off balance a bit, but maybe it works. And I can also see the little irregularity in the lines. I think you might need to work on your use of grids, like ensure that things are aligned. We might get away with this because people don't know, but we are designers, we know these things. So you want to let the grids be aligned as much as possible so that it doesn't take away from the hard work you've done. I like that you've mixed in the use of imagery with other elements, right? You've used mock-ups here, but because of the image here, there's a balance, there's a visual balance. So I like what you've done here. Yeah, so we have the mock-up. This mock-up might be a bit underwhelming, right? Because there's this excitement coming already, and then this might not be reflecting your brand in the best light. This particular brand, I think this mock-up, maybe you shouldn't use this mock-up. Maybe you should use another mock-up, something more exciting. Okay. The way you've used the brand patterns to create some sort of system, right? It might be too overwhelming. So if you look at the way you've used blue, red, and green, there has to be another way you can use it where where we're able to appreciate it. So it doesn't feel too overwhelming. People need to be able to appreciate the work you've done. So figure out a way to work on the system, right, in a way that it doesn't feel like it is too much. Okay? Especially when you're using very strong colors like blue, red, and green together. And so you have that. I've seen this mock-up again. You people should stop using the same set of mock-ups. I'm going to fight with you people. I have a platform called Geneza Store, and we have mock-ups that we are working hard, we're constantly creating. You can even send us emails to say you want this kind of mock-up, what do you want to see? We're creating mock-ups so that we will not continue to use the same set of mock-ups for our projects. Please go to this is one of my favorite mock-ups, by the way. I like the fact that you can change the color of the seats, to whatever your brand is, and they're cheap. So please buy our mock-ups. I think Peace, I think there's a discount set, right? Peace. When you subscribe, right? Okay.
That was for last year, though.
That's fine. Thank you, peace. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to your portfolio. Okay, I'm gonna go back to your portfolio. So you don't want to, we've seen these mock-ups over and over again. So you want to ensure that you're using a different kind of mock-up so that we can appreciate the work you've done. And so yes, okay, okay. I think that this branding, I like what you've done here. This is so impressive. I like what you've done here. This is interesting actually. I like how you mix the colors. This particular slide is nice. This is very nice as well. I like how you've balanced the colors here, right? The way you've used red, white, green. I think there's something you do well. You're able to use strong colors, but use it well. But it's not everywhere you've used it like really, really well. But in some of the parts you've used it well, and I like that. Okay, I like how you've used the mock-up here. Well, you brought in like the human elements in the branding. It's good. This is impressive. I don't know if this was a real image or this was a mock-up, and that's a good thing because you don't want mock-ups to look like mock-ups. So that's a very good thing. I like that. Okay, so this is good. This is good. I love the illustration style. I think it's very consistent. I think it's very consistent. I think it's very consistent. It's a nice illustration style. So you might want to work on so the brand itself is very bold. So anything you are doing with the branding has to be subtle so that it doesn't become overwhelming. I really hope that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just in my head. I wish I could bring it out and explain it. So I've seen that project, and what other project should I look at? Let me look at this one. Okay, so you have visual identity guidelines. This one is just a guideline, okay? Okay, this is a guideline, okay? Mm, okay, 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 okay. Let me see this project. Mm, I like that mockup. You use a lot of strong colors. I think that's like your thing. You use very bold colors. Okay, okay. So let me talk about this one, right? And I'll try not to geek out on anyone. I'll try to make it as easy to understand as possible. So when you're designing for now, this is a mock-up of a like a is it like a billboard or what do they call these things that go on roads? And you need to not just design them, but also think about functionality. When you're driving past, let's say you're going past the Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and you see this particular ad, what do people see first? They can read empower yourself financially. So pay your rent with in installments with rent. Okay, so you want to ensure that they see. Um, thank you. You want to ensure that they see the text very well. You want them to see it very well because the goal of design is to communicate something. Is to ensure that what they are communicating, people can actually see it. Design is like so. Let me explain this way. If you take Microsoft Word and you write a text and you put it somewhere, people might not pay attention to it. But if you design it, if you had other design elements, people see it. So you're helping your client to solve one problem, communication problem. You want to help them communicate, and you also want to help them get attention to their project, to their product, whatever. So what you're doing here is when you're designing anything that has to like roadside, billboards and signposts, ensure that it is legible, people can see it because that's the goal. It's not just about being aesthetically pleasing, it has to be functional, it has to solve a problem. Can people quickly go to the website when they are driving past? If there's no traffic, can they quickly go past? So the things that are important should be more visible. And this is a mistake that we all make. I'll say that when we are designing, because sometimes when we're designing our portfolio, we're just thinking about the aesthetics. What about the functionality? So what makes us, what shows that we are growing as a designer or as designers is our ability to think about the smallest things like functionality, readability, all these very small things. So let's think about that. Um, so yeah, I've seen the other mock-ups. Yes, I'll say that I want your designs to be more subtle, right? To be soft, like agege bread. I don't want it to be too, I want it to be easy on the eye. So when you're using colors like this, mixing the colors together, that the matching of colors, you want to tone it down in a way that it is easy to experience without feeling like you're looking at a design portfolio. You want people to experience the branding. So I'd say that when you're using mockups, you use a lot of solid colors, figure out a way to bring in other mock-ups like you look at this mock-up for instance. Look at this mock-up for instance. They put in the phone on a landscape background. And I think I've done a couple of things like that also. I've done something like I did something like that here. So you want to ensure that it's not too because I use solid my design, I use solid colors as well. These are solid colors, but I have matched it with an environment that is soft so that is easy for you to take in. So you want to think about that as well. You want to bring all those different things in. So that's like the major thing that I've noticed about your work that I want you to work on as well. Even all these ones, they feel too mock-up. I don't want them to feel like mock-ups. I want your work to look realistic. Design is hard work. You've done hard work. How do you ensure that people get to see the amount of work you've put into your project? So think about that and then look at your project again. It should actually help you. I think that should be the last thing I'll talk about. I'd have loved to check this project, but I think it might be the same feedback. Okay, I don't know. I think you're an illustrator, so this is like an illustration um case study. It's nice. I like the consistency of the illustrations. Yeah, I think I like the consistency. It's very good. Well done. Um, so that's everything that I'll say for today. I don't want the session to be too long. I know people want to go to bed, and yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for listening in. I totally enjoyed this session. Is there anything I want to talk about? No, I think that everything I've talked about covers, I've talked about consistency, I've talked about visual hierarchy, I've talked about first impressions, I've talked about all those things. So yes, so we've talked on 5 portfolios today. I really hope that this feedback has helped you, and I'll say that you guys are doing really well. I'm impressed by your work. Let's just keep getting better. We will never. I don't think we should ever get to that point where we feel like we are there. Mm-mm. I'm constantly trying to improve on my designs. So I think that I want to be very good at designing. I want to get really, really better. I want to get better actually, and that's how it should be for everyone. We should constantly figure out ways to be better. Um, so yes, thank you so much, everyone. I was gonna make reference to some of my projects, but you can always go to Geneza Brands to check out some of my projects. I was gonna make some points that when I'm presenting like a case study, I always put like breakers, so that it's not too overwhelming as well. So you have like the human touch to you. I think I've touched on that already, and we have another breaker here. So that's everything, and this is also one of my favorite projects as well that I worked on. And you can see what I've done here. We brought in the human side of the brand to work with it, and then you have this as well. So it just really helps your case study not feel too case study like. So I hope that this really helps someone. I think I can answer maybe 2 or 3 questions. Well, if there are no questions, I think it's good. We can all go to bed. This was a good session. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for sending in your portfolio, Oraoluwa, Abba Emmanuel, um, Demola Dre, Daniel Owolabi, and Shegun Bamidele. Thank you so much. So yes, that is pretty much everything. Thank you so much, guys. I think that should be the end of today's session. What am I forgetting? Please, am I forgetting anything?
No, we're just waiting for the questions to come in. So someone has sent in one.
Brand storytelling. How do we leverage on brand storytelling? Now, storytelling can be. It depends on what you are trying. Because at the core of every branding is storytelling. You cannot have a brand design itself is story. You're telling stories, so there isn't brand design without storytelling. So you want to you can leverage storytelling by ensuring that everything that you're doing tells one story. And this comes from every brand has a story, right? Every brand has a story. We've always talked about strategy. What is the mission of the brand? What is the vision of the brand? So the word storytelling is a vast topic. So the question is, what aspect of storytelling? How do we were talking about in terms of the visual side of branding, in terms of the work, I'll say that, you know, definitely bring in storytelling. When you're, for instance, let me show you something. When we're working, there was a brand I worked on where I talked about, there's a brand I worked on It was this brand. Let me show you. I think it was Spring in April, where I mentioned something about the logo, the client. He wanted to have a tulip flower, and I talked about how the tulip flower has some sort of sentimental relevance to the founder of the brand. And so that just, okay, in terms of visuals, so that just, really, really helps, people appreciate the work more, where you're able to take the story and you're able to express it in different aspects of the brand. So every brand should tell a story. How do you ensure that you want to ensure that when people see the branding, both the stories that you've written down and the visuals you provided, they all tell one story. So it's very important. So for this one, I talked about how the tulip flower, right? It blooms. What I said here was I said a significant part of the identity is the tulip flower, which blooms in spring and has sentimental relevance to the founder of the brand. And so that whole thing, I just try to bring in and make sure that it's a part of the entire branding. And so it can be done in different ways, but also that's like one of the major things as well. Um, Okay, we've not launched this brand yet. This is branding we did as well. I would have loved to show. Okay, I would have loved to. There's a brand we worked on where I bought. We didn't publish the brand. We didn't publish the story. Where the founder of the brand is Catholic, and he wanted a logo that talks about a logo that is a lawyer, right? He's like a very brilliant lawyer, and he was trying to create some sort of was trying to create some sort of platform where people can come get sponsored into law school and things like that. And when I was creating the identity, storytelling was one of the major things I thought. Like the storytelling was so important because he wanted a brand or an identity that tells a story about both law and his faith. So it was a combination of law and a combination of, him as a person. What are the things he believes in? So when we designed, so I had to start learning about, Catholic symbols. How do we created some sort of symbol for him, like a crest, right? I had some of these elements because if you create, like, I was also going to say that if you create a brand, if you do a brand identity project that doesn't have good story, that doesn't have a good story behind it, it would feel very flat. So every brand you design should have a strong story. The story might not be so strong; it might just be very flat, but there should be a story. So when I think about that brand, I, I think about the client, where it's coming from, his story, what he's trying to achieve, and those are the kind of things that kept ringing in my mind as I designed for the brand. So that also influenced our visual. So I took his story. He's Catholic. He talked about there's something he talked about when we were designing for him. He talked about how I can't remember at the moment, but he talked about how there's a particular flower that the Pope holds when they have their prayer. I had to go and research all these things. And when I was researching, I also realized that those crests that we see, and we see the lion, you know, in different positions, like the Nigerian coat of arms, for instance, where the horses, where they stand on their their legs and everything. So we're talking. I realized that those different positions actually mean different things. So I had to learn about it. So you cannot do branding without storytelling. It is important for you to understand the story. It should influence your work. And yeah, that's what I would say. It should influence your work. Storytelling is there's a lot I want to say, but I don't want to just keep talking. I want to ensure that I stay. I finish on time. So that's what I would say. Storytelling should your brand should have a good story, and your story should influence the work that you've done. Yes, I think I should even talk about this more later, but yes, that's what I would say. Peace, is there anything else? Can we close now?
Yes, ma'am, we can close.
Thank you, Peace. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you guys for joining in. It was a very good session. Please take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your night. Bye.